Welcome to the video again. I'm going to talk about a different artist today, something completely different to the last one. If you remember, the last one was Echo and the Bunnymen. This one is kind of a folk artist. Don't run a mile, not yet. Anyway, I've kind of not really been much into folk. I mean, I've bought a few albums over the years. I've listened to Martyn Carthy, the Watersons, Leon Rosselson, Tabor, a little bit of Nick Drake, kind of folky in a certain sense. John Martyn, again, the early stuff, kind of folky. And I listened to some of the bands as well, like Steel Eye Span, Fairport Convention, Pentangle, Lindisfarne, as I've mentioned in the past, kind of got that folk rock thing going on. So I've kind of been in and amongst it. It's kind of a mood music for me. I have to be in the right mood to really enjoy it. It's worth saying, by the way, that bands like Bellowhead and Oyster Band, the Levelers, kind of the more up-tempo, kind of rocky folk stuff, just leaves me cold. Doesn't do anything for me whatsoever. So it's kind of, I'm more interested in the singer-songwriter approach, the style when it comes to folk. This artist was another one I discovered through a compilation. His compilation was called That's Proper Folk. So Proper as being a kind of a folk and roots record label. This is about 15 years ago now, something like that. And the track on this album, on that compilation album, is a track on the album I'm talking about today, which is called Never Any Good. And it comes from an album by an artist called Martyn Simpson. And the album is called Prodigal Son. And Never Any Good won the kind of record or song of the year on the, I think it's the 2008 Folk Awards, BBC Folk Awards maybe. And it's an amazingly evocative song, and really kind of heartfelt, very moving. And I thought, well, this guy is really interesting, and I'm gonna see if I can explore a little bit more. So I began, as is usual, hoovering up his back catalogue. And I thought, well, I've got to check this guy out. I'd never really heard of him before, apart from this one song, and none of my friends knew anything about him. So I went to see him on my own at a place in Leamington Spa, and it might have been a hall upstairs in a hotel or something like that. I can't quite remember, but I remember walking into this place. There's no seats, no fixed seating, kind of fairly low-level stage, few square tables sitting around and plastic chairs. And I kind of walked into the middle of the floor, picked up a plastic chair and pulled it up to a table, and looked around me, and there's about 30 people in this hall. And anyway, Martyn Simpson came on stage, and I thought, Christ, this is a really obscure up and coming artist. Anyway, so he came, as far as I could tell, he gave a fully committed performance, and he was a very kind of had a warm presence on stage, and he began. He just talked about the stories behind the songs, and his songs are full of great stories, like a lot of folk people as well. And like in common with a lot of folk artists as well, he's definitely a socialist. So he talks a lot about the working man in history and in the more recent past as well. So he's got very kind of left-wing tendencies, and he sings and talks very movingly of people who are kind of struggling to make a living, make a life. But anyway, I remember after the gig, I went into the foyer and I started talking to what I think was his road manager. And it seemed that this road manager's job was to ferry Martyn around from gig to gig and back to his home in Sheffield, in Yorkshire, South Yorkshire. And but as well, this road manager was also selling CDs, so I'm buying a few CDs as well. And I thought, God, this guy's really, really good, but only 30 people show up to see him. So what can I do to help spread the word about what this great artist that people need to discover? So, telling friends, going on social media, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I thought that I could kind of do my little bit to spread the word that this guy was a guy worth spending time trying to discover. Anyway, I bought the album, bought it on CD first, and then I ended up buying it on vinyl. And I remember I saw him several times in fairly quick succession in the Midlands, and I was almost went further afield, but something else came up. But I went to see him, and I took this album along to one of the gigs, and he very kindly signed it for me as well, which was rather nice. He was nice, engaging, really friendly guy, really good. But anyway, at the gig where I had this one signed, there's definitely proper folk aficionados in attendance, and the numbers were much bigger than 30. There must have been a couple of hundred people in the room this time. And he did. He gave another wonderfully warm performance. And also what was interesting is that he's got such a catalogue of songs of his own and of other artists that his set list is constantly changing. So he's never boring, and he has, as I've already mentioned, he has such a warm presence. It's like you're in the presence of kind of an artist who you can imagine you'd have a really good beer with. And you know, if someone had told me that you got to really see or hear this folk artist, I'd be thinking, oh goodness me, another one. Somebody who probably sings songs of a political nature, probably pretty pleasant background music almost. And I thought I probably, wouldn't be interested. Anyway, I was completely blown away. And what's really striking about his albums and about his repertoire is that he's a brilliant storyteller, great singer-songwriter, expert guitar and banjo player. Banjo, but believe me, he makes it sound really fitting in the songs that he chooses to use the banjo. He's also apparently does acoustic or guitar workshops, so people can sign up for that. And at one time I thought, when I picked up an acoustic guitar, I thought it'd be great to kind of hang out with a group of people and learn some basic guitar skills, but my guitar skills are so bad, and I thought it'd be an utter embarrassment if I showed up. So I thought, well, that idea went into the bin. But he's got this, as I mentioned, he's got this range of styles, and he covers classic folk songs. And on this album, for example, there are some really striking songs. Little Musgrave's a great story. She Slips Away, which is very sad about the death of his mother. Never Any Good, of course, which, as I say, that's the one that won the Song of the Year. It's like a love song, a love letter to his father, who was very nurturing in Martyn's appreciation of nature. But he was never any good. He's not strong enough, he's not clever enough, but he was a wonderful father by the sounds of it. Wonderful. And he does a brilliant version on this album here as well, of Randy Newman's Louisiana 1927. It sounds absolutely gorgeous. It's beautifully recorded. Martyn's humanity comes through in all of the songs and the stories that he tells. But interestingly as well, he has no problem doing instrumentals. Some of the instrumental tracks are really, really quite beautiful and not boring, or really interesting in what he does. So he's very good. But he also, like here, he covers Randy Newman, but he's also covered Springsteen. If you like Springsteen's Tom Joad style, he did a version, Martyn did, of Brothers Under the Bridge, which is not from that album, but it's from that era. He does occasional Dylan song, but he delivers it in such a warmer character than Dylan ever did. So he's very, very personable and very authentic. You get a sense that he's got real authenticity, and he's fully committed to his art. He's really, really good. Why should you listen to him? Well, I think anybody who's into folk music probably knows Martyn Simpson, and certainly did a lot more than I did back in the day when I discovered him, 15 years ago. But if you like Springsteen, if you like that Dylan, maybe John Prine, John Martyn. I mean, Martyn Simpson is nowhere near as experimental as John Martyn was musically, but there is a similar feel to some of his to his albums as well. So John Martyn's peak was 70s and 80s, and but Martyn Simpson's been in the game almost as long. And of course, John Martyn's departed these days, but Martyn's still going strong and is still releasing albums. So he's definitely worth checking out. Prodigal Son is an amazing album, really, really good. And also this one here, which is the follow-up called True Stories, I also heartily recommend. I mean, there are others too, but to me, after going through his catalogue, I'd say these two albums are the ones that really are the ones that are standouts. Wonderful, wonderful album as well. So, so I think you should listen to Martyn Simpson. I think if you don't have to be worried about this folk label. He's much broader than that. He's much more interesting and super accomplished as a singer-songwriter and instrumentalist. So, go check out Martyn Simpson and go see him live if you can, because he's a very entertaining night out. So that's Martyn Simpson, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.